Hey students, this is lesson 9.5. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to solve quadratic equations by completing the square. Go ahead and do the review here, and I'll check back with it. All right, you can solve any quadratic equation by completing the square. This method turns every expression, x squared plus bx, into a perfect square trinomial. You complete the square by adding b x, where b is coefficient of the x term. All right, I'm going to show you how to do that right here. First, we're just going to practice finding that term. So think about this. So here we have a trinomial, x squared minus 20x plus something. And we want to add something to make this a perfect square. Well, all you need to do here is, to be a perfect square, that would mean that we would have these two middle terms. So I'll just write this out like this. And to get this to be a plus, we need a minus here and a minus there. And to be a perfect square, each of these terms would have to be half of b. So notice this b divided by 2 there. And so I'm multiplying x minus 10 times 20x minus 10. Well, if you do that, the last term, so I'm going to get this x squared minus 10x minus 10x. That gives us our 20x when we do FOIL. And then when you multiply negative 10 times negative 10, you get plus 100. So our C is 100 to make that a perfect square trinomial. Go ahead, you try that. All right, so let's use that idea to find some solutions to this equation. X squared plus 2x equals 8. What I'm going to do is create a perfect square trinomial out of that. So I have to take half of this number and square it. So I'm going to do x squared plus 2x plus 1. Half of 2 is 1, and if you square that, you get 1. But if I add 1 to this side of the equation, I need to add 1 to the other side also. So I get that. So now I have this, x plus, I can write it as a number squared. And what's nice about that is, the way I deal with that is I just take the square root of both sides. And I get x plus 1 is equal, now remember 9 has 2 square roots. So let's get them both here. So x plus 1 equals plus or minus 3. Now we're going to have to deal with that two ways. Either x plus 1 equals 3 or x plus 1 equals negative 3. If x plus 1 equals 3, then subtracting 1, I get x equals 2. If x plus 1 equals negative 3, then subtracting 1, I get negative 4. And if we just check both these answers, so I'm going to do, I want x squared plus 2x to equal 8. If I do 2 squared plus 2 times 2, that's 4 plus 4. That certainly equals 8. So that one works. And the other way, if I do negative 4 squared plus 2 times negative 4, I hope that equals 8. And negative 4 squared is positive 16. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. And that also equals 8. All right, go ahead, you try that. All right, let's try that again here. Here we have an equation that's written in standard form. And to use this completing the square, we have to have a perfect square trinomial. And right now we really don't have that there, because if we took, well, negative 20 is not a perfect square. There's no number times itself, no whole number times itself that people said. So what I'm going to do is start by, I'm going to add 20 to both sides. And And so then I get x squared plus 12 equals 20. And now I can work with this 12, divide that by 2, and that's 6. And then if I square that, I get 36. And now this is a perfect square trinomial. Now if I add 36 to that side, I have to add 36 to this side also. So now I can rewrite this as a number multiplied by itself, a binomial squared. And that would be x plus 6 squared. And that's equal to 56. Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. The square root of x plus 6 squared is x plus 6. The square root of, there's 2 square roots of 56. So I'm just going to write it like that. At this point, I'm going to have to approximate that because that's not a perfect square. But I can write down my 2 answers. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. So my one answer is the positive square root of 56 minus 6. And my other answer is, let's say, and x equals negative square root of 56 minus 6. Now I'm just going to use my calculator and round those to the nearest 10. And to the nearest 10, I get x is about 1.5, and x is about negative 13.5. All right? Go ahead, you try that. All right, let's solve a problem using completing a square. Eduardo has 2 square pictures surrounded by a 2-inch frame as shown below. The combined area of the pictures in the frame is 126 square inches. What is the side length x of each square picture? So just drawing a quick diagram here. We have x there for the dimensions, and there's a 2-inch frame around that. So this is x. So our length can be described as 2x plus 4, and our width can be described as x plus 4. And our area is 126 square inches, and that includes the pictures and the frame. So we're going to try and figure out what x is here. All right. So to write our area, length times width is equal to area. So 2x plus 4 times quantity x plus 4 is equal to our area, which is 126. Using the FOIL method, I get 2x squared plus 12x plus 16 equals 126. All right, I'm going to factor out 2 here. It looks like all these numbers are even, so I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And that won't change our answer at all. So if I divide this by 2, divide this by 2, I get x squared plus 6x plus 8 is equal to 63. Now I want to create a perfect square trinomial. So I'm going to do subtract 8 from both sides, and that gives me 63 minus 8 is 55. Now we're going to take half of our 6 and square it. Half of 6 is 3, squared is 9. So add 9 to both sides. And that gives me a perfect square trinomial. Binomial squared is x plus 3. 55 plus 9 is 64. Take the square root of both sides, and I get x plus 3 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 64. Since this is geometry of a picture, I don't really need to consider the negative solution, so I'm just going to say x plus 3 is equal to the positive square root of 64, which is 8, and so x is equal to 5. So our picture is 5 by 5. All right, you try that. All right, we're up to the lesson check. Go ahead and do that, and I'll check back with you next time we meet in class.